I canceled my sister-in-law's $8,000 wedding venue 2 days before her big day. And no, I don't regret it. Because sometimes, justice doesn't come in the form of karma. Sometimes, you have to be karma. If you've ever been blamed for something you didn't do or disrespected after giving everything you had, hit that like button and subscribe. Because today, you're about to hear how I turned heartbreak into one of the most satisfying acts of revenge I've ever pulled off. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today's story will make your jaw drop. It's about betrayal, hypocrisy, and the kind of revenge that no one saw coming. My name's Claire. I'm 32, and for most of my adult life, I thought I had everything figured out. A loving husband, a stable home, and a family that, while a little judgmental, seemed harmless enough. But that illusion shattered one afternoon when I found my husband in our bed with another woman. To understand why what I did next caused an entire wedding to fall apart, you have to know how it all began. My husband, Mark, and I had been together for 8 years, married for 5. I work in tech, long hours, good pay, comfortable lifestyle. Mark's a high school teacher, passionate, underpaid, and honestly, one of the most patient men I thought I'd ever met.
But his family?
They never let me forget that I was the breadwinner. Little comments at dinners. Subtle looks whenever the bill came. His mom once said it was unnatural for a woman to make more than her husband. His dad had asked Mark, in front of me, if he ever felt emasculated. I laughed it off, pretending it didn't sting. Because Mark always defended me.
Or at least, I thought he did.
His younger sister, Emily, was the golden child. She had dreams of a huge, fairy tale wedding, but no job, no savings, and no sense of reality. She and her fiancé still lived with his parents. But that didn't stop her from wanting the $8,000 dream venue she saw on Instagram. It started with one dinner conversation. Emily, tearful and dramatic, said her dream wedding was slipping away because the deposit alone was more than she and her fiancé could afford. Everyone looked miserable, and then, all eyes turned to me. Mark squeezed my hand under the table. Later that night, he sat me down and said, "Claire, they're hoping we can help. Just with the deposit. You know how much this means to Emily." I stared at him. $8,000 was no small favor.
But he kept pushing.
He said, "Family helps family. We can afford it, right?" And in that moment, I made the mistake of saying yes. On one condition, the payment would be under my name. I wasn't going to hand over thousands without control.
He said that was smart.
His family praised me like I was some sort of saint. Emily hugged me, crying, calling me the best sister-in-law ever. I didn't know it then, but that was the last genuine moment any of us would ever share. 2 weeks later, I came home early from a work trip. The house was quiet, except for laughter upstairs. A woman's laughter. I froze halfway up the stairs, my stomach turning cold. And then I opened the bedroom door. There they were. Mark and his ex, tangled up in our bed. Time stopped. My ears rang. My brain refused to understand what my eyes were seeing. He jumped up, panicked, blurting excuses that didn't matter. She scrambled, grabbing her clothes and bolting past me. And in that moment, I wasn't angry. I was numb. Like my body had disconnected from my soul. When he tried to follow me downstairs, I just said, "Get out." He slept at his parents' that night. And the next morning, I called a lawyer. The news spread like wildfire through his family. And surprisingly, no one called to ask if I was okay. Instead, 3 days later, his mom called. "Claire, honey, are you really getting divorced? Or is this just a break?" I told her it was real. Silence. Then she said, and I'll never forget it, "Well, you're still going to honor your commitment to the wedding, right?" I laughed. Actually laughed. I said, "Are you serious?" She said yes, that it wouldn't be fair to punish Emily for Mark's mistakes. Emily herself called next, crocodile tears and guilt trips. She said, "I'm so sorry about what happened, but my wedding has nothing to do with this."
"You promised."
I said, "I'll think about it," and hung up. But that phrase, "you promised," echoed in my head. A week later, Mark came by to grab some of his things. We barely spoke. As he was leaving, he said, "You know, my family's right. You should still pay for the wedding."
Be the bigger person. I just stared at him. Was he serious?
And then, as if the universe wanted to test me, his mother called that same night. But this time, her tone wasn't sweet.
She hissed. You're being selfish.
Punishing an innocent girl for your husband's mistakes. We always knew you were a gold digger, probably wanted this to fall apart so you could take half of everything. But you're not taking our daughter's wedding with you.
A gold digger.
The woman who paid for their daughter's dream.
My blood boiled. But I didn't say a word. I hung up. And in that silence, something in me hardened. The wedding was still 3 months away. And from that moment on, I played along. They thought I'd forgiven them. That I was still honoring my promise.
Emily texted me cheerful updates. Her dress, the catering, the decorations. Her mom left voicemails about how grateful they were. Meanwhile, my divorce was moving fast. My lawyer said everything would be finalized a month after the wedding. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. They didn't see me as family.
I was a wallet.
A convenient ATM dressed in patience. They disrespected me, insulted me, mocked me, and still expected me to pay for their celebration.
So,
I decided they would learn what happens when the gold digger stops digging. 3 weeks before the wedding, I looked up the cancellation policy. If I canceled more than 72 hours before the event, I'd get 80% of my deposit back.
After that? Nothing. I waited.
Watched their social media posts. Her bachelorette party. Her countdown posts, only 10 days to go. Then, 1 week before the wedding, her mom called again.
This time sweet as sugar.
She said she hoped there were no hard feelings. That she was so grateful for what I'd done. That Emily couldn't wait to see me at the wedding. I smiled through the phone and said, of course.
I wouldn't miss it. Then I hung up.
And set a reminder for exactly 4 days later. 4 days before the wedding. I sat at my kitchen counter, coffee in hand, my finger hovering over the phone. My heart was pounding, not from guilt, but adrenaline. I called the venue. Spoke calmly. I need to cancel my reservation. The woman on the other end hesitated.
Are you sure? It's very close to the event.
I said, yes.
I'm sure.
She confirmed the cancellation and told me I'd receive $6,400 back within a week. Then she added softly, should I notify the other party?
I said, please do.
An hour later, my phone blew up.
Emily. Her mother. Her father. Even Mark.
Emily's first voicemail was shrill with disbelief.
You're evil. You ruined my wedding. Everyone's traveling. What's wrong with you?
Her mother called me a vindictive witch.
Her father said I'd destroyed their family.
Mark's message was the most pathetic of all.
I can't believe you do something so cruel.
She's hysterical, Claire.
You didn't have to stoop this low.
I didn't respond.
Not to one of them.
Because for once in my life, I didn't owe anyone an explanation. 3 days later, photos started popping up online.
Emily had a backup plan.
They got married in her parents' backyard, folding chairs, mismatched decorations, and someone's phone playing music instead of a DJ. Half the guests didn't even show up. The ones who did looked miserable in the photos. Emily posted one picture with a forced smile, mascara streaked down her face. Caption: not the day I planned, but I still married the love of my life. The comments were full of people asking what happened. And I just watched.
Collected. Free.
Some mutual friends said I went too far. That Emily didn't cheat, her brother did. But others said they completely understood.
Because people like that, they never learn unless they lose something they thought they were entitled to.
My lawyer confirmed everything was legal. The deposit was in my name, and I canceled within the policy window. My mom said, they got what they deserved. My dad said, revenge isn't worth it. Maybe they're both right. Sometimes I think about that moment, when the venue manager said, are you sure?
And how good it felt to finally say, yes.
Because it wasn't just a cancellation.
It was closure. They called me a gold digger.
But I wasn't after gold, I was after respect. And when I realized I'd never get it from them,
I took back what was mine. Do I regret it? Maybe a little. But you know what?
For once in my life, I didn't let people walk all over me. And that peace, that silence after the chaos,
was worth every penny.
sometimes, revenge isn't about destruction. It's about reminding people that your kindness was never weakness, it was a choice. And once they lose it, they don't get it back. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell me in the comments. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen someone pull off? And don't forget to subscribe, because next week's story will prove that karma doesn't always take its time. Sometimes, she shows up right on schedule.